used to say, "Soldier for Muhammad."
See, there you go. We can start with you can pick up a question based off of that right there,
Okay, here we go. Okay, now we are live. Okay, I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a special edition of Off the Record this evening. We have two great panelists, Brother Jesse and Sister Shareefah, who are joining the People's Podcast this evening, and we're going to hear their great love story and get inspired and get informed. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Okay, excellent. And as soon as I told people that I was interviewing you all, they sent questions in. So I have some questions that I always ask, but I also have questions from the audience as well. The first question I would like to ask is, who chose on who first? Who made the first move?
Okay, well, to ask that question, I mean, you got to get two versions of the answer, right? So let us know who you want to start with.
Well, truth comes after falsehood, so let's go first. Yeah. No, but in all seriousness, though, it actually started with me. The first move was actually, we were on the Cullen Mosque. This is when we were in high school, 9th grade.
Oh, high school.
And I had just started attending the mosque. And, Brother Josh, it was irritating me that at the end of every meeting, student minister, he was Robert Muhammad at that time, but Brother Abdul Halim now, he kept acknowledging this sister. Sister Shareefah Muhammad got a scholarship here. She got a scholarship here. She won this, she won that. I'm thinking like, man, who is this sister? So I went and told my brother Derek, I was like, brother, can you tell, the student minister that I got scholarships too, and I'm doing big things, so I wanted to be acknowledged. So that's what first piqued my interest. And then I was in the back of the mosque waiting on my brother at the end of a meeting, and she came up to me real stern. My wife had her headpiece all the way down where ain't an inkling of hair showing. and she said, "Oh, so your brother Derek's brother, real firm?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." I reached to shake her hand. We don't shake hands with brothers. Man. So I said, I apologize, but because she was about that way and about that life, that was the first attraction point. The fact that she rejected me. That's crazy, ain't it? So that was it. And then from there, we developed a friendship in the mission, in the mosque. And so that was the first move. It was made by me, and it was straight ego stuff.
Yes, sir. Okay, well, my sister Naima says assalamu alaikum. My sister Miriam says assalamu alaikum. And they say, Mimi says all high school sweethearts. Excellent.
Oh, man. Wa alaikum salam.
Now, Sister Shareefah, what was it about Brother Jesse that made you accept his initial courtship, or his saying that his interest, showing interest in you?
Ooh, okay, that's a loaded question. That's a loaded question. But just even going back to the way my husband said in his approach, me, having the teaching, studying the Quran and learning about Mary and in the scripture, I've always wanted to be like her. And so my mindset already was, well, probably when I get married, man, none of these brothers around here, I probably won't get married till I'm in my 30s anyway. So I walked around with that mindset from the get-go. So any brother that had an interest, that was always a difficulty factor. And like you said, he was ego tripping, and it was the difficulty factor that made him continue to press on further and further. So I believe it's because of the consistent adversity that I gave him, he wore me down.
He wore you down, okay.
He wore me down.
Okay. Meet and overcome all obstacles, Brother Jesse. Meet and overcome all obstacles.
Hey, that's what the FOI says. That's not just for class on Mondays. You want a woman, you meet and overcome all obstacles.
And he did. He met it. He overcame them all.
Man, she made me go through 4 mosque fathers, brother. First a real father. Yeah. That's the only man I felt I had to properly. We had 4 daddies in the mosque. That's right. I'm being interviewed. It got to a point I said, you know what, man, I'm a grown man. But I did show respect to him though, because I had to get her.
But that's the interesting thing though. Like I was like, man, it's no way this brother gonna make it through. I got 4 fathers. I had this list of things. Okay. And it was like every part of that list, he was getting the check marks on. So actually it became frightening. Because I was like, I already have this list. I know no brother can really overcome these barriers. It's going to take some time. And then I look up and he just knocking them off. I'm like, okay, Allah, what are you trying to tell me? And so that's kind of what helped me to open up to him. But like he said, the forefather piece, oh yeah. I mean, it was at least one of them I just knew he was not going to get approval from. And when he got that one, it just blew me away.
Okay, excellent. Sis Shareefah, may I ask, who are the forefathers?
Well, one of them was, like he said, my biological father.
Mm-hmm.
And I had, at that time, we had an assistant student minister by the name of Lawrence Muhammad. You have my uncle, Brother Larry. We call him Million Miles Muhammad. He delivers the Final Call newspapers to our region. He's been doing that for over 20 plus years. And then the fourth one, who was the fourth?
Brother Derek T. I think he was a surrogate father.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can't remember the exact fourth one because that one's more distant. But yes, those, out of those four, for him to just get oh yeah, that's a good brother. I mean, right off the bat, it wasn't like, well, let's think about it. It was like, yeah. I'm like, no.
And look,
you're not supposed to say that.
And look, Josh, so they was coming at me about, do you got 6 months saved up in case of emergency? And, brother, please. I batted her up to pay for 6 weeks, brother. You got your own place? Yes, sir. You got a nice place. Just a nice 1-bedroom apartment. And look, I had I used to like that Jeep Cherokee. Man, we went out on a courtship date. Man, my car ran hot in front of her mother-in-law, in front of her mother's house, brother, when I escorted her home. So I had a vehicle that ran hot, wouldn't start. But look, I wasn't trying to impress them. I was being real, and transparent about it. But what it was is that, which I think is another thing that we don't talk enough about with the courtship and marriage. Man, I was a soldier in a mission, and she was too. That's
right.
So we stayed active with the youth conferences. So our friendship wasn't no going down in the DM back then. Wasn't no social media. We was emailing each other about the teachings when we were in college. We was talking about, do you believe the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is physically alive? Do you believe his God is a man? Right. Do you think the minister is going back to the wheel? So we was having serious discussions. Plus, we were very active in the mission. So our bond wasn't some little, I thought she was cute and all that. But be honest with you, brother, like I said, we're going to be transparent. She wasn't a fly dresser back then. She was wearing like a mother's clothes. She had the big glasses, and I mean.
But you gotta put me on French like that, brother.
Well, look, I wasn't that fly myself. My glasses big too. I only had 2 suits and 4 shirts and 2 bow ties, and one of those suits was wool. Now imagine me wearing a wool suit in Texas, brother.
Houston, Texas.
You wasn't about all that. I didn't attract her with that. It was about that spirit.
Right.
That's what started the base of it. So we thank Allah. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan laid that base for us on how we should properly approach one another. Right. And we thank Allah for that foundation, man.
But that's true. But then think about the other point too. We didn't even have telephone conversations.
We didn't have telephone conversations. We didn't
have each other's phone number until we went into courtship.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have. Yeah, I asked her for her number when we went in courtship.
We never talked on the phone.
Hey, bro, Josh. You could tell we fired up. I had one of the prepaid phones that was free after 8, so you could tell when I told her to call me.
Okay.
Yeah, I know we look young, but we old school. We had to go get the prepaid card and put minutes on it.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so my question is, how important, because I always hear people talk about money, and you're saying that, I'll start with you, Sis Shareefah, then come to you, Brother Jesse. Sis Shareefah, if you saw that he wasn't the richest brother in Houston, then what made you look past the money situation?
Like he said, it was the spirit of it. I mean, I knew for sure he definitely wasn't gonna be no broke brother with the skills and talents that he possesses, which the world is starting to see now. And then also just from on my own end, I come from a family or a background where we believe in doing for self. So I was like, between the two of us and the ideas and plans that we have, we can make it. We gonna make this.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
Yes,
okay. My sister Mimi says, "But Jesse, please don't roast my sister like that. She's fly today, though."
Thank you. So, see, etiquette.
Yes, ma'am. I'm gonna stand down.
Okay, but Jesse, my question to you is, so many brothers, that is the major factor in us being like, man, when I get it, I'm gonna come get you. When I'm up, I'm gonna come get you. So what was it about Sister Shareefah that made you be like, no, I'm gonna get you now, and then we're gonna get whatever? You know what I'm saying? What was it? How did you overcome that?
It reminds me of people when we going out in the streets, or even those that's been active in the mosque and lead. We say, I'm gonna come back when I get myself together.
Yeah.
Well, you never coming back. The mosque is the place, it's the hospital where you come and get yourself together. So if you're gonna wait till your finances are perfect, you're never gonna be married. You're using it as an excuse. Because at the end of the day, just being honest, if we're being very honest, some of the most wealthy of us in the nation, I personally have known have went through financial difficulty. I mean, went through serious dips, lost houses that were huge, and then some of the poorest believers who started out poor, they doing well for themselves. So at the end of the day, it's about having a will, you know. She understood that, man, I wasn't a lazy brother, you know, and I had ambitions, I had ideas, and of course, naturally, coming out of college, I ended up getting some jobs. I did work jobs. I was a teacher and things like that until I got to the point I didn't want to work for nobody. But at the end of the day, too, this was things I had to learn. Now, I come from a family that had terrible financial background, you know. We cashed our checks at check cashing places that's connected to Church's Chicken. So we didn't know nothing about bookkeeping, accounting, saving. So when we got married, she had way more stored away from than I did, you know. You know what I'm saying? So also I had to learn from her. Now what's interesting, beloved, one of the times when we was going through a rocky moment, your father was touring and we had a counseling session with him. Right here in Houston. And we was talking about the finances. And he basically let me know as a brother, it seemed like she should be the accountant of the house. And I didn't feel ego, nothing about it. He was right. And doing that, it started getting a whole lot better. And I had to learn a lot from her. But as a brother, come on, man. You got that checklist and you waiting for everything to be perfect. It's not gonna happen, brother. Go ahead and get in, because why? This woman is the only thing that's gonna help perfect you. So it ain't the money, it ain't the bank account, it ain't the car. Those things are great, and we want more, and we're gonna get all by Allah's permission. Right. But what we have learned from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, brother, with these teachings, man, that's our treasure.
That's right.
That's our wealth. And as long as we got that, we got everything.
That's right.
Okay, now, bro, Jesse, now I gotta. You can't come on my show no more because you're throwing off everything. You're throwing all my excuses. But Jesse, and people gonna be texting like, "I told you, you had to hear something, Jesse." Brother Ronald says, "Brother Jesse's always been a real one. Love that brother." And my sister Naima says, "Teach Naima, please." I know she was gonna bear with us today. I've been telling him.
Brother from Phoenix.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, my brother. Praise be to Allah.
Okay, yes, sir. The next question is, where did you all go on your first courtship date?
Did we go to AHA?
No.
Oh, we didn't?
I'm about to think, did we actually go to our courtships homes, Brother Byron?
Right.
Or did we go to the movies?
You know what? We went to the movies with our escorts. Our escorts. Now, we have to tell you all that is listening. We don't want to offend the modern Muslims, but we followed the courtship procedure to the letter.
Okay.
We didn't go out without being escorted. So we were assigned our beautiful couple, Brother Byron and Sister Sonia. Right. Y'all may know her as Sonyola Granola. That's was our couple. And matter of fact, our first house, we lived right next door to them. But they took us out to the movies. I don't remember what movie it was.
It was The Matrix.
It was The Matrix?
Part 2, the second Matrix.
Man, usually my memory better than yours.
Hey, not today, bro. Not today.
Showing that. So we went on a courtship date, with them, and we spent a lot of time with them, asking them questions, because they've been married for over 20-something years now. But also, we went on courtship dates with our pioneers, Brother Allen and Sister Betty, who was in the New York Mosque with the minister in the 70s.
Right.
We went to dinner with them. We went on a lot of dates with others, But I have to tell you, the courtship manual in striving, we wasn't perfect in it, but we was very rigid, and people used to mock us, about it. But one time, I know my brother might go laugh at me, but his first wife, they were our courtship escorts, and we would go with our families. I wanted to introduce her at my grandmother's house at Thanksgiving. Well, they was a little late for the Thanksgiving dinner. They had little issues going on, right? Man, Sister Shareefah stayed out in her car until Brother Derek and his wife showed up. And my family was like, why you got that girl out there like that? Y'all ain't right. Y'all Muslims are too rigid. I said, Granny, now if me and her in here start holding hands and start necking and rubbing, y'all ain't gonna say nothing. Because y'all don't know no better. So they respected the fact that we were striving to and following that courtship procedure and watching that lecture that the minister at that time, it was obligatory that we watch that lecture called What is Your Role? While you were in courtship. And we watched that and we strive. But the courtship days were real good, man. We had a lot of great conversations and dialogues with everybody.
Okay, praise be to Allah. Brother Ronald says, how cute they finish each other's sentences. Thank you, Ronald.
Okay.
Right.
How long did you all court before there was a proposal?
Okay, so we went to courtship like when October, November, and then you proposed in April.
It wasn't long at all, bro.
It was definitely it was close to that 6 to 8 months.
Let me tell you something, man. Our mind was already made up. Like, we had already took each other through processing, brother. We took courtship serious. Like, before the credit reports, I literally was asking her, do you believe the Honorable Elijah Muhammad still physically alive?
Right.
And I told people that, man, that was a deal breaker. Like, the foundational points of God being a man, like, it's serious. We want to marry believers, you know? So yes, we did the age test and all that type of stuff. And I showed her my dismal credit score and she showed me her A1 credit score, you know, all that.
Okay.
But that was the foundation.
Okay, so my question is, Orlando says beautiful couple. My question is, how did you propose, Francesca?
Oh, brother, this is the best moment ever. Absolutely. I think you need to let her tell it. Because it's amazing, brother. It raised the bar.
It did. It did.
Okay.
But like he said, you know, we had our main courtship couple, Brother Byron and Sister Sonia. And Sister Sonia she wanted to meet with me one-on-one. And she was like, well, let's meet at the Cheesecake Factory. You know, since that's a universal restaurant, I think everybody kind of knows, familiar with that place. And one thing about Sister Sonia is she's really particular. She does not lie. Let's just say that straight out, flat out. So to trick me was something very difficult for her to do.
Okay.
But she did it. And so she got me to meet up with her at the Cheesecake Factory, and we got there, and then my husband had to fill in all the behind the scenes stuff because I didn't know what was going on behind the scenes, literally and figuratively. But my husband, of course, at the time, my fiance, they were in the kitchen at the Cheesecake Factory. Him, my best friend, some of our other closer believers, my mom, it had to be because she was there. You know, our closest family members. And he came, I'm sitting there talking to Sister Sonia at the restaurant. And he comes out and I'm thinking, wait a minute, what are you doing here? Because this is a one-on-one discussion about, you know, the sister side of the relationship. And before I knew it, my family, my closest friends, they all fallen out of the kitchen at the Cheesecake Factory. And when I realized what was going on, I was like in shock. And the waiter comes out with the slice of cheesecake, drizzled with the words, "Will you marry me?"
Okay.
It was the strawberry drizzle, brother.
On the plate.
Yeah.
"Will you marry me?" And then he opens up the ring, and I'm like, we have a picture of it, as a matter of fact, that we framed, and my hands are up to my face and my eyes. And like he said, I wasn't the best dresser back then, but in that occasion too, I wasn't even worried about what I was gonna look like, because I'm like, it's just me and Sonia. So I just had on my head. And I'm like, oh my God.
But I took over the Cheesecake Factory. You know how the FYI, I wasn't even class A, but I told him I need the kitchen. I need to hide the fact in the kitchen. These people was like, what is going on? It's a surprise. I just walked in there like I own the place, man, at the Galleria.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was historic, unforgettable.
And since you know it's public, other people around
Oh,
saw him, so it was like it was somebody watching a TV show. You can hear all the applause in the background.
Okay,
But
that's
good.
Excellent. And thank you all for watching. My next question is, so who said I love you first?
He did. No need to wait. I had to think about that one.
I'm still a man about mine. It's okay. I did.
Yeah.
Did I say it like Music Soul Child 143 though?
Yeah, you sure did.
Yeah.
Okay, Music Soul Child, one of my favorite singers. Okay, yes. Okay, brother. Brother Ronald says, "Cat Daddy, I see you, brother. That's super dope. That's beautiful."
Come on, man.
Brother Hassan, I don't want to butcher your name, brother. What I'm saying it's very important to know that that's strawberry drizzle, brother.
Watch out now.
Okay. Boom. Oh, I want to, before we go back to the next question, I want to make sure that I give my sponsors the credit. Supreme Spring Water, thank you for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. My sister Miriam's book, ABC I Love Me, is on Amazon. My brother Rashad and Jamal's video production company, Street Premiere, they do all of the editing videos and video production stuff. My second book, which is called Cleopatra, is on Amazon. Thank you all for sponsoring, liking, sharing, and subscribing. Whoever's watching who has a business and you would like me to promote it, just let me know. J Imagination on Cash App, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. Boom. Next question is, I'll start with you, Brother Jesse. What has been your greatest trial and how did you overcome that?
Man, so the greatest trial was that I was not raised or trained on how to be a husband. You know, I while in the FOI class, we were taught to read on books on the romantic side of marriage, and we would talk about it. But I have to be honest, I wasn't given enough specifics training on how to handle a woman like this who's coming straight out of her parents' home. I had a lot more contact with the world, had been through a whole lot more in my family. So I was getting in my hands, as she said, a little Mary, a treasure that I didn't know how to properly, be, as well. I made a lot of financial blunders, a lot of bad decisions and things early on. So the biggest trial for me was overcoming just the guilt of my mistakes all the time, brother, and beating up on myself to the point that I had started saying that my being a husband was my greatest failure in life. All of the things I've been able to accomplish and achieve, and Brother Jesse this, and I've done this. I had went through a long period of time for years just saying, man, I'm just like the worst husband, ever. And I would even say it to her at times. I was just like, man, I'm just failing. But then it got to a point though, you're tired of getting a D on your grade, and a C. So it got to a point I started like asking, like, okay, what's the grade every year? I haven't done it this year yet. I need to find out. We're gonna do that on camera. I don't want to do that. But I started asking her, and she started, letting me know, because the minister said that the woman is the barometer.
Yes, sir.
So when she would give me the grade, she would be honest with you. Honest with me? What did she like? What she didn't like? And so I had to really just grow to stop weaponizing my past mistakes, as a husband, as a father, and just learn to just grow from there. So the biggest trial has just been myself, and learning that, man, you can grow from your mistakes too as well, and that you shouldn't weaponize your trials and your mistakes and your shortcomings at yourself all the time, particularly when you're still striving. So we're still in the process. That's why I love on that tape, what is your role? Minister Farrakhan asked a question. He said, how many of y'all here are married? Raise your hand. And everybody raised their hand. And he said, nobody should have raised their hand. Because he said, when you say you're married, ED is the past participle. That means you think you have arrived. No, you're in the process of being married. So we've been in this process for over 16 years and still growing.
Right.
That this year, half of this year was one of the most turmoil for us. The last part of the year has been a bit more blissful.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's different.
Right.
It's different seasons, and so I thank Allah. She's still riding with me and putting up with me. All praise due to Allah.
That's beautiful. Okay, I'm coming to you, Sis Shareefah, but I want to just read the comments. Hold on. I see. Thank you, Brother Hassan. Okay, then Brother Orlando says, y'all know how to have fun. Sister Fudia says, one of my favorite couples. Brother Duran says, that's how you do it. Beautiful. Love witnessing their relationship. They're complimenting one another, even in laughter. Brother Elijah Farrakhan says, Assalamu alaikum, this is beautiful. Love y'all. Love you more, Brother Elijah. Sister Miriam says, thank you for your transparency and honesty. This is a beautiful interview. Thank you, Mimi.
Praise be to Allah.
Sister Shareefah, what has been your greatest trial and how did you overcome it?
Well, instead of putting mine in the past tense, let's say in the process of overcoming.
Yes, ma'am.
It's kind of like my husband said, his background was one thing, mine was another. Just because I came from a two-parent family home who had some stability, that didn't mean we didn't have issues as well. And then two, just to dispel the myth for many who may think so, because my name is Shareefah, my last name was Salim, I was not born in the nation. I was not born in Islam. I didn't find out that my father had been a part of the first until after I joined the Nation of Islam, because that's a part of the history that they never shared with me. So I came from what I consider, I used to crack a jokes. I called myself, I was a heathen as a child, because we didn't go to church.
Oh, you too?
Yeah, me three. And so, I didn't have any of those type of exposures, but I also had a childhood history of molestation from family members. And I've shared this too when we went to New Orleans with Brother Student Minister Willie and what have you. So, just overcoming the effects of that and how it caused me to relate to my husband has been a challenge, or really in truth had been. It's not like it used to be. Not necessarily dealing with low self-esteem, but more so looking at self-worth, self-value. That was something that I had to, overcome and learn that, it's okay for me to love me. Because what I would do is I would more so exude or push that love or whatever out to others as opposed to myself. So that has been the biggest challenge that I have been, working on. And ever since I've been facing it head on and looking at that man in the mirror, it's like, the bomb, I feel great, bro. Hey. I mean, you just, yes, praise be to Allah. But just going back to, in terms of how it affected how I would relate to my husband, that was a big deal.
Okay, excellent. And thank you all again for watching, and thank you all for your transparency. Now, when you said, Brother Jesse keeps saying he's from one side, basically like one side of the track, and you're from another side, it appeared that way. What is it, I'm somebody who studies movies very much. What is it about the Romeo and Juliet or like the Notebook or like, these two different backgrounds that makes people drawn to each other from different sides? Like, why is that such an attraction? Because my parents are definitely, that's definitely the case with my parents. My dad is completely from the South, from the country. My mom is from the North. What is that about that draws people together like that? That come from different backgrounds?
That's a great question. Because when we went on our first sit down, we went to a Jones football game, and we wasn't even in courtship then. We were just hanging out with some believers, I think. And I just started opening up to her about my life story and aspects of it. That my mother, overcame drug addiction, is now a successful chemical dependency counselor, and actually is an MGT now.
Right.
I grew up fatherless. I didn't find out who my real biological father, is and was, because he was murdered, until I was 32 years old. So I grew up, with my two brothers, my three brothers, older sister, and grew up hard. We moved, 2 to 3 times a year. So I didn't understand the concept of stability. But that type of thing also, I believe, is really the teaching, beloved, because our conversation that we were having, it was bringing things out of her, not just her life experience, but her Islamic experience up to that point that made me have an affinity and attraction to her that didn't necessarily have nothing to do with that she came from a house, in a nice neighborhood. And I only had lived in maybe 2 houses, and we lost all those. We got evicted, a lot. So it was more so about the word that really was the magnetism that attracted us to. but also believe, it's an interest story as well. My background, I'm pretty sure I thought it was gonna scare her off, to be honest with you, Josh. When I started telling her how I grew up and, we dealt with domestic violence with my mother. Me and my brother Derek, man, we whooped the crap out of men for years when we were young, putting their hands on our mother, and that's why I am the way I am now. Like when we on the block, if you raise your voice at a woman, I'm around, it triggers me. Like I hate the disrespect, man, and anything towards women. So all those different things are the elements that cause the attraction. But I believe at its core, it's just us being under the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that really attracted us because, I know Mimi told me not to put on blast, but being real proud, I was a Forest Brooks star basketball player, straight A student, you know what I'm saying? Oh yeah.
I thought he was gonna be the next Kobe.
All that, yeah. See, I was supposed to go out of the NBA out of high school, but they drafted Kobe that year instead of me.
Right.
That's a long story, politics. But all that to say is that in the world sense, I wouldn't have been talking to her.
Right.
In the worldly mind,
Right.
she wouldn't have been talking to me. Like you, not her. But in the teachings, though, you find out exactly what you need, man. And I will say this lastly. Yes, we're taught that opposites attract, but there has to be a certain level of things about the individual that does mirror you.
Yes, sir.
But don't make that mistake, brothers and sisters. Don't think to marry somebody that's just the total opposite of you. We have some things in common now.
Oh, yeah.
Intelligence, you know what I'm saying? We love to read, and it was certain things we had interest in. We talked about movies and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
But that total opposite attract, man, watch out, man. You gonna find yourself divorced, and talking about what Yakub said. Wait a minute, brother. Now we gotta have some kind of affinity if this thing gonna have some kind of foundation.
Right.
And, so, and thank you all for watching. I just want to read the comments very briefly. Sister Naris says, I love it, ASA. My sister Miriam, too. Sister Shareefah says, you are worthy. I'm so happy that you're embracing your self-love journey. Sister Allah. Sister Annette, Assalamu alaikum, ma'am. Brother Paul Muhammad, teach, brother. Sister Tammy, yes. All praises due to Allah. Okay, beautiful. The next thing, what has been your greatest joy, Brother Jesse, about being married?
Woo-wee, yeah. The greatest joy for me is just like we're taught by Minister Farrakhan that Islam, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, will bring out of us the best and the worst.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Man, marriage has humbled me. I would tell my wife at times when, say for instance, I'm traveling, speaking and all these different things. When I would come to my house, man, marriage would humble me. And because it felt like it was always that mirror up, it dealt with my personal guilt, but also that I wasn't meeting the standard and goals that I should have at my house the way I was doing all these other things.
Yes, sir. Yes,
so the greatest joy for me has been is to find out that there's new levels to Brother Jesse starting at the house.
Yes, sir.
Man, it's been exciting. And then when those times where you want to feel like you want to throw in the towel, be like, man, forget it. I believe all couples have went through that.
Yes, sir.
But then when you have that turning point to say, you know what, come on, let's kind of work it out. And then when you see that you can do it, first with having the Quran at the center of the conversation. Now, one thing I can say is that we ain't had a whole bunch of Negro moments of falling out and arguments and stuff and all that, Ain't been no violence and swinging, and definitely ain't been no full-fledged cussing out, you know what I'm saying? Might be a kosher cuss word here and there. You do a couple hells. That's kosher cussing for us. But it's always been, the word, even when it's tough. Sometimes us as brothers, we say we love the teaching, but when our wife is correcting us with it, that ego come up. I done been there, man. You love the minister, but you don't love it when it come out of your wife's mouth sometimes. I get it. It's tough, and vice versa. Now, brothers, I'm telling you, don't let the sisters fool you now. We ain't the only ones with egos, man. These sisters can get at you now, and you try to offer them general advice, whatever. But the teachings being at the foundation as the core has been the joy. And I'll say this lastly, you know, and have her to answer. You know, Josh, when we were, the main reason I told Shareefah, number one, to this day, the main reason I told her I wanted to marry her was this. I said, because I could already see the type of children she could produce. That's the first thing I told her was the reason I wanted to marry her. And I am blessed with a 13. We are blessed with a 13-year-old and a 7-year-old that is a product and a bearing witness of what I saw in this woman over 16 years ago. So that is definitely on the top list of the joy. And I think a lot that we're still in the process. And we thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Look,
absolutely,
the blessing of having his counsel. You know, I will tell you that being fatherless, that is that father that has stood in the gap. And it has been many times where I've been transparent with our minister, and he's giving guidance to us with our marriage. And because being in this labor, as you know, being of a family, being on his staff, man, it puts a strain on the family and the relationship. At a particular time, I was traveling so much. I came home one day and she told me, you haven't been home 30 straight days in over 2 years. And I hadn't even realized it.
Right.
You know, and those type of things have a strain and everything like that. So thank Allah for the good and the bad that's come out. And I just know that Allah is not through with me. He's not through with our marriage. And we got a lot more to do to work on ourselves. Praise be to Allah.
Okay, so you know, coming to you, I just want to read the comments.
Yes,
brother Michael, he answered your question. Thank you, brother Jalil. And brother Jalil says, go ahead, fruit. Sister Shareefah. Oh no, brother Jesse, I'm coming to you, Sister Shareefah, because I got to hear you, the sister side of that, because I know it's deep too. But Jesse, what position you play in basketball? I didn't know you play basketball.
Oh man, yeah. Let me sit up for that. Let me sit up for that one. Yeah, wait a minute. No, so I was a shooting guard and small forward. I played basketball in middle school, but in high school at Forest Brook, yeah, I led the district in 3-point shooting, free throw percentage, top scorer. You know, definitely was all district all the time, beloved. I wanted to play. Now I tell you all, before I found the teachings, I felt that my purpose in life was to play in the NBA.
that's right.
My brother and my family could tell you, I ate, slept, and drank basketball, bro.
Right.
I watched tapes, VHS. Excuse me, I know we talking about how old we are. I used to record on VHS tapes along with the minister. I would watch basketball games. I practiced all night. I used to wear a shirt that said, "Basketball is life. The rest is just details." And one mixtapes. I studied them.
Hey, okay.
Yeah, for real.
Come on now.
We were joking about that Kobe Bryant piece, bro.
Yeah,
you know?
for real. I wanted to be drafted out of high school. Then Kobe came along and Slam Magazine. I'm like, who is this dude? You know. But all that to say is that when I got a full academic scholarship to Prairie View, you know, I majored in engineering, which is something I didn't want to major in. That's another interview. But when I went to Prairie View, Josh, I didn't give up on it. I put together my own highlight tape.
Okay.
I gave it to the coach. I wanted to try out. But unfortunately, Prairie View ended up getting some money to get some scholarships. You know how black schools are. They think the white man shot is colder for some reason. Recruit these white boys from Kansas and all that, man. So my basketball career got cut short, unfortunately. So I've been shooting for Muhammad ever since.
Hey, crazy too. Okay, bro, Jesse, now see, this is what I'm saying with us not knowing who we are, but I never knew you hooped this whole time. Oh, man. I could have been asking about his favorite basketball team and all that, and do you think the Rockets gonna make the go to the finals ever? You know what I'm saying? But I never knew.
Oh man, see, I'm gonna need to get audited about the Rockets. I still got a grudge now. I know we talked to not hold on to grudges, but they busted up our back-to-back championship team and traded Elijah Warren to Toronto. I have not forgiven the Rockets. And Mad Max was actually my favorite player, Bernie Maxwell.
Okay,
People used to think I was his son, and I wore number 11 my whole basketball career for Bernie Maxwell. That was my player. So we have another conversation.
Did you ever get to meet him?
I've never met him before. I had one time I almost could have, but yeah, we could talk about that. You just let me know offline. We have a good conversation.
Now I can't wait to see USA. I'm like, oh, we gotta go hoop because you know I think I'm.
Come on. Well, I had to. Minister Farrakhan made me retire from basketball though. Yeah, he did. I can't tell the whole story, but last year I broke my ankle playing basketball.
or 2018.
2018.
2018, yeah.
We was out there playing Brother Ben and the team in Waxahachie. And I went up and blocked on one of Kabir's shots, came down. Long story short, I broke my ankle, man. I missed Savior's Day, my whole family, which was a
first Savior's Day ever.
But all I have to say is, make you laugh. The minister was, of course, hurt that I wasn't making it to Savior's Day and my family. But it took me a minute to recover, but I didn't need surgery, thank Allah, because the doctor said that I must eat well and I must take good care of myself. So I didn't have to have surgery on it. But brother, after I was recovering, the minister called me and said, brother, how old are you? At that time I was 39. He said, don't NBA players usually retire around that age? And I'm like, wait a minute. And so he said, I said, yes, sir, brother, mister. He said, wasn't Kobe Bryant around that age when he retired? I said, yes, sir. He said, well, you hang your jersey up in the Raptors with his, brother, because we got bigger and better things for you to be doing. So if I come to Atlanta, if you take me to Dave and Buster's, I got you.
But he got you on that.
I can't do full court.
Okay. Like okay, Brother Ronald, I see your comments. Brother Ronald saying he never knew. He said you should have helped Brother Hannibal. Okay, Sister Shareefah, what has been your greatest joy in marriage?
I'm sorry, ask the question one more time.
What has been your greatest joy in marriage?
Well, I honestly would say my greatest joy has been always, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, even if I hadn't asked the minister this question on Twitter, I have definitely posed this question before amongst the believers about marriage being half of our faith. And I can honestly say, just in the 16 plus years that we have been married, that I have learned a tremendous amount about my faith in terms of who I am. And so that led me, to always focus on why is marriage considered half of our faith? Because, it's easy for us to just say, okay, you know what, I can't do this, let me move on, I'll be fine. But what's the difference when you're in a situation where you have so much adversity and Allah guides you to stay in that adversity so that he can bring out the growth or the best of what it is he has intended for you. And because, like my husband said, we've had our adversities. I mean, of course, we know we're going to have more, but just taking them on and challenging them head on has really shown me a lot more about who I am, my own personal growth, and what I'm able to bear.
Praise be to Allah. Okay, excellent. Well, the next two questions I had, these are our last two questions. I'll start with you. Continue with you, Sister Shareefah, and Brother Jesse. Sister Shareefah, what advice would you give to future wives?
Well, the first advice I would give is study the teachings. Make sure we're constantly studying the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Listen to the Honorable Rasul's Farrakhan's lectures as it relates to the ones he's given to us in our MGT class. Because, once again, he heavily weighs on our values so that we understand who we are, what role we play. But for me, most importantly, that who we are component. Because as women in this world, when it comes to our value, we don't look at that list, or we don't look at that, what I call the Mary factor. And if we look at the Mary factor, I believe, or not only just look at it, but if we apply it and we act it out, then we will find that in our own nation, that the marriages that we have would be more successful, despite the adversity, despite the trials that we go through, because a lot of the answers are in there for us of ourselves.
Yes, ma'am. One more question. What advice, and thank you all for continuing to watch. And what advice would you give to future mothers?
To future mothers, read Sister Fudia's book,
That's
How
right.
to Give Birth to a God. Study the message lectures, How to Give Birth to a God. I mean, and see, once again, it comes right back to that Mary, because Mary, just because Mary had a child, you don't have to give birth to a child to be considered a Mary. Oh my goodness. But I mean, starting there, all the answers are right there. Just start there. I don't even need to elaborate.
Okay, excellent. Okay, and for you, Brother Jesse, what advice would you give to future husbands?
Man, do not think of marriage as a death sentence.
Yeah.
Please, brothers, let's stop. I'm saying, I know this particularly to my young believers in the nation.
Yes, sir.
I see y'all be posting all kinds of stuff that's really worldly concepts about marriage, and you don't want this and you don't want that. Quit talking about the don'ts and wants and what you can't. See, the beauty about Islam, one of the first things my brother taught me is Islam is not about the things you can't do. Islam is about all the things that you're open to do within the parameters of being yourself.
Yes, sir.
So don't be afraid of the marriage, brother. It's going to open you up because that single life, brother, I'm trying to tell you. I was saying that one time. It's only so long you can live off the ramen noodles and boiled water, brother.
Yes, sir.
It's so long you can keep saying you a soldier and you trying to get it and you traveling and stuff like that. No, brother. Don't look at it as a death sentence. See to the fact that you're going to take yourself to the next level, man. We love to talk about leveling up. You're not going to level up without no woman, brother.
Yes, sir.
It's not going to happen, man. Come on, man.
Yes,
it's only so far you're going to get by yourself. So I would say number one, it's not a death sentence. Second thing is this. Do your best, as my wife just said. Man, the minister just asked us at Day of Atonement, Brother Joshua. He said, how many of us actually eat the word?
Yes, sir.
And make it a part of ourselves. So every single day, don't let a day go by without eating in the word.
That's right.
See, just like you just tuned into this show, anytime Brother Abdul Rasul or anybody sharing the minister live, our lives should stop and feed on what that new revelation is. Get that word in, because why? If you don't have the word in you, the trials of marriage is going to bring out the Negro in you.
That's right.
And you don't want to do that. We're Muslims. So please, do that. And the next thing is this. Stay involved in the mission, brother.
Yes.
Please. I want to just, I encourage my fellow FOI. When you get married, brother, to a real MGT, she wants you to be a helper of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
That's right.
Be in that mission,
Right.
man. And I'm going to tell you, Josh, them times when you see us truth trafficking in the streets, it's been times when me and my wife just had a bad day. But it's something about when I hit them streets, even though we just had an argument, she come by with my children so they can see me on the corner to buy the final call. Because that mission is healing work, man.
Yes.
So you got to stay in that mission. Stay in that word, man. And if you need help, don't be afraid to ask for help. That was another mistake I made. You know, kept it private. Don't get me wrong. It's some of us that gossip too much. So it's people that you just can't tell your business to.
That's the truth.
Hey, come on now. We got the gossipers now. But if you know people that you can trust and confide in, that you can keep that real conversation with, then do that. You know, me and my brother Lynn, while we truth trafficking, we be trafficking about our families. We be talking husband and wife business for real. Because you need that, you know, as well. So I pray to Allah that we will have more marriages in 2020, that we will have more successful marriages. And that's why I think, you know, brothers like Brother Willie Muhammad in New Orleans, you know, they like to call him the Dr. Phil of the nation, but he's the Brother Willie of the nation.
Okay.
So he got books, brothers always pushing it. And the minister has done countless articles on marriage. Let's keep feeding on the word. But come on, black man, all that posting selfies and you traveling the world by yourself and you've been in the nation 30 years, homie, you need to cut that stuff out, brother. Get you a woman, get you a MGT. You got to do it, bro. And I just leave it at that, bro.
Well, we want to leave on a high note, that note that you all both brought. I hope that Brother Ronald, who's in Phoenix, is listening to your advice, because I've been telling this brother that for like the last 6 years. You know how
there you go.
Yeah, Brother Ronald, yeah. I hope you listen to what Brother Jesse's saying. I told you. But your story has been, once again, that's why I love doing Off the Record to People's Podcast, because you never know who the believers are. I would have never thought that Brother Jesse played basketball. I would have never known that Sister Shareefah even smiled and laughed, because she's always serious when I see her.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? To see you all be a high school sweethearts, it's motivational to everybody, but it's motivational to me too. So that's beautiful.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you. And Josh, I want to say this lastly, man. You know, I thank Allah for you and what you've been doing with this podcast, brother. You know, several of those you've interviewed, I've called them personally because, again, I didn't know them like I thought I knew them. The brothers from the team and other believers. And so this podcast is just so valuable. So I thank Allah for what you're doing. And I pray Allah will continuously bless you. And the last testimony I just want to give is that we just made, you know, talking about the importance of having an MGT and FOI, we just made over a year experimenting with eating every other day, brother.
Right.
Now, we couldn't do that without one another, brother,
Yes,
because
sir.
it'd be tough. But I'm letting you all know, man, doing things like that has helped us in our marriage. Eating every other day, leveling up in how to eat to live, you know. So I would challenge, you know, the couples that are married, when things have gotten a little stale and redundant and boring, then let's dig off into the word to see how we can level up and challenge one another. And also, don't lose your autonomy. You know, there's things that she's into that I'm not necessarily into, but I support her in, and vice versa.
Right.
So you also want to continue to develop yourself as an individual. Don't lose your autonomy in the relationship as well, too, and it'll help build up. So you good that you call us to interview today, brother, because today was an eat day. So we pretty good. But had it been tomorrow, we would have told you, no, sir.
I mean, I'm gonna check my calendar. Is that an eat day?
Calendar.
Let's see. Okay, yeah, bro. We good.
So we good, yeah.
Excellent sister Elaine PM says, praise be to Allah. My sister Mimi says, me and Ronald. Sister Annette says, very informative, enjoyable. Brother Duran says, Brother Joshua, you need to listen as well. In fact, show us how it's done. Thank you, Brother Duran. Okay, but thank you all. I look forward to seeing you all in Detroit, inshallah. And man, it's an honor that you all will come on the People's Podcast and share your story.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.